There's no way that we could have a tribute to the former undisputed heavyweight champion of the world and not have him on the program. We're talking about Lennox Lewis. Good afternoon to you, Lennox. Welcome to KLAS Sports FM 89.
Good afternoon to you and all your listeners.
Boy, it's good to talk to you. As a matter of fact, it was in February 2004 that KLAS became a sports radio station. It was also in February 2004 that Lennox Lewis decided to call it quits from the ring. Take us back to that moment. Why did you decide in 2004, after that last heavyweight fight with Vitali, why did you decide to call it quits at that time?
It's interesting because Muhammad Ali was a hero of mine, and he went on a bit too long in his career. And every time I told people that Muhammad Ali is my hero, they said, "Oh, don't you think he carried on too long? Look at the effects of it." So I wanted to retire, with all my faculties, and I wanted to retire on top. Also wanted to retire getting rid of all the misfits out there, such as Mike Tyson, Riddick and all these different heavyweights, and, accomplish all my goals and retire on top.
Mm-hmm. What is it about you and Riddick Bowe? Because you had beaten him to win the gold medal in the '88 Olympics, but you never did fight him after that, did you?
No, I never fought Riddick Bowe. I wanted to fight him because, he found it necessary to insult me when there's like 1,000 people around, so I couldn't really get to him. So I knew that if I get him in the ring, that the only person to save him was the referee, and still he didn't elect to fight me. We fought in the '88 Olympics where I won a gold medal off of him, so it's just a natural thing to fight me as a professional, but he had a big gravy train, and Rock Newman didn't want it to end, so they didn't elect to fight me.
After that fight with Glitchko, you decided to call it quits, as we mentioned. What has life been like for Lennox Lewis? Have you thought about it at any time throughout the last 9 years to go back into the ring?
Yeah, I've definitely thought about going back in the ring, and I was really excited about it, and then all of a sudden I woke up and I pinched myself and I said, oh, it was just a dream. And I realized that, it doesn't make sense to go back in the ring. I've accomplished all my goals, and time to set new ones, and that's what I'm doing.
Mm-hmm. That's wonderful. And it's amazing, I was reading online an article by Phil DJ out of World Boxing News, and he spoke highly of your commitment to staying outside of the ring and also going on to do other things, including, trying to raise some funds for boxers, for a pension scheme and all of that. So you enjoy doing that kind of thing outside of the ring now? Yeah,
I do a lot of different things, a lot of different charities. Sometimes I do some shows, some movies. I'm actually an entrepreneur when it comes to different type of businesses that are available to me. And, right now it's just concentrating on my family, my young kids. I've got 4 kids, and, making sure that they're brought up well. And, I've got a lot of different ideas and things that I want to come to fruition.
Yes. A number of fights that you have been a part of, some of them very, very classic fights, and we have been talking about the one with yourself and Mike Tyson, which was the second to last professional fight of yours, But we want to find out a little bit about Lennox in terms of his boyhood days. Was this something that you saw yourself doing? What was your dream as a boy growing up?
Well, it's interesting, because I wanted to be a fireman because, I like the big fire trucks, and I actually had them playing with a fire truck when I was younger. And, I didn't know what I was going to be, but, I played all different sports in high school, basketball, football. And because boxing was an individual sport, I just stuck with it because I realized I didn't have to depend on a team. It was really down to me. And if I win or lose, it was down to me, and it all depended on me. So I love the individual sport. But, if I could do it again, I'd probably be a golfer.
the Tiger Woods.
Yeah, Lenny the Lion.
But that's interesting that you mentioned about Lenny the Lion. Every time they introduce you, like you hear about Iron Mike Tyson and the Evander, the real deal, what do they say about Lennox Lewis when they're introducing him, that little middle nickname?
Once again, it's interesting because, there could have been a couple different names that I could have went under, the Gentle Giant or Lennox Claudius Lewis. But I think my name stands for itself. Lennox Lewis, instead of Lennox the gentle giant Lewis, Lennox the Lion Heart Lewis. You know, those names kind of seemed, kind of put me in that wrestling aspect, and I didn't want people to get me mixed up with no wrestler. Mm-hmm. So I just kept my name how it is. I didn't really want no fancy curves to it.
Yes. What's your Jamaican connection? Remind our listeners of that.
My mother and my father are Jamaican, and they're from Portland. And they immigrated to England, where they had me. And I stayed in England until I was the age of 9. And my mother immigrated to Canada and called for me to come over and stay with her. So I went over to Canada for a few years, and then boxed for 2 Olympics for Canada, 84 and 88, where I won the gold medal against Riddick. Decided to turn professional, and I went to England, back, a place where I was born. Canada was a place that nurtured me, and now I'm living in Jamaica.
Yes, and we're very happy that you're here.
Island in the sun, great food, music, and people.
I tell you, when you think about it, 9 years on Lennox Lewis, have you really reflected on how you have impacted the world of boxing? Has it really dawned on you how well you have done?
Well, not really. I take it as it comes, but I'm a person to, I look at myself as fine wine, especially what I've done in boxing. It just gets better in time. When you look around and see the landscape of heavyweight fighters and realize, there's no good heavyweights around, and they can't see none coming soon, so they realize the impact that I've actually done with the sport. So, looking back at my career, I'm very happy about it.
Yes, 41 wins, 2 losses, 1 draw, and it's amazing that the 2 losses and the draw, you were able to come back and defeat those who drew with you and who defeated you.
Yeah, that was a goal of mine to, it's like going on a horse and you're dropping off. It's like, okay, you definitely, if it rains, you're definitely going to get wet. And in boxing, it rains punches, and, a couple of times an unbelievable punch has gone through, which my chin happened to be in the way of.
Of all the fights, as we mentioned, some of them classic fights, memorable fights, in Lennox Lewis's estimation, give me 2 fights that you always say, hey, that was a good one.
Yeah, I would have to say Hasim Rockman was a great fight for me, because this is a man that actually beat me. Like I said, he threw a great punch, which my chin happened to be in the way of. And then, he was a bad champion. He ran from me, and, he called me all sorts of names. So he really rekindled a flame that was dwindling inside of me. And, people say, when you look back and the losses that you've had in your career, would you want to go back and not make them happen? Well, I believe that I'm glad they happened, because that really showed the fighting character I had and the burning desire to be a champion inside of me.
Yes, that's great. And another one?
I would say the Mike Tyson fight was a fight that was, I didn't know if it was going to happen or not throughout my whole career. We met each other before we turned pro, because I actually sparred with him in 1983. At the World Junior Championships in Santo Domingo, Dominican Republic. And Customato didn't really want him to take any planes at that time, and I actually beat the American in that tournament, and I was World Junior Champion, but they said if Mike Tyson was here, it would be a different story. I said, who is Mike Tyson? And the world didn't really know about him too much, but when we finished that tournament, we found him up in the Catskills, and we went to spar with him. And when we sparred with him up there, Customato said we were going to meet one day in professionals. So I didn't know if it was going to be actually true or not. So I watched his career. And then, at one time we were supposed to meet, and he got incarcerated for 3 years. And then I didn't know if we were going to meet again, because he came out, and at a press conference, he bit me on my leg. And,
yes.
He got thrown out of the Nevada boxing, so we couldn't have the fight in Vegas. We had to have the fight somewhere else. And we finally met, and finally was out of the way. And the big argument, who was the best heavyweight at that time, the questions were answered. When you look at today's fighters, such as Pacquiao and Floyd Mayweather, you wonder to yourself and wonder, why can't these guys get it together and fight? We're gladiators. This is what we do. will this fight ever happen? The question still looms over everybody's mind. Who will win, Floyd or Pacquiao? Now, in my situation, Tyson or Lewis, that question has been answered.
Yes, and in a very convincing way too. In terms of the heavyweight division these days, nothing's really happening exciting in boxing in terms of the heavyweights, Lennox.
No, I mean, two brothers hold the belts that I have. At one time, I was undisputed heavyweight champion of the world, and I had all the belts. This era now, when you have the Klitschko brothers, you have one brother owning 3 belts, the other brother owning 3 belts. So one fighter cannot hold all the belts because they're shared at the moment. So we're waiting for that time when we'll have another undisputed heavyweight champion, a person to hold all the belts. So that's my last accomplishment.
Yes. And finally, in terms of your rating and ranking in world boxing, how does it make you feel when people call your name against the likes of Muhammad Ali? As a matter of fact, George Foreman has said that you're the best heavyweight fighter ever, and he is a champion fighter himself. Evander Holyfield and even the same Mike Tyson. How does that make a Lennox Lewis feel as a champion himself?
Well, it makes me quite proud, and I'm very happy with it. It's just an honor just to be mentioned along the names of Muhammad Ali, Foreman, and the once great heavyweights of the world. So, it's great to be among the same men that has made history in the world, and that they're still remembered today. And I'm very happy.
Yes. Well, Lennox, thanks for taking a little time to talk with us on this Saturday afternoon. We wish you all the very best, and nice to know that you're here in Jamaica. And who knows, the next heavyweight champion might come from Jamaica.
Oh, okay. Now you're saying something. I'm saying if we have the fastest man and fastest woman in the world, I think definitely we can have the best fighter in the world.
Former undisputed heavyweight champion of the world and still a champion himself, Lennox Lewis, all the very best to you, and thanks for allowing us to do this tribute in your honor today.
Thank you. Big up Jamaica.